Let's speak to the church now and understand exactly how this difficulty is affecting the nation and why it thinks that this is the way to go. Apostle Immanuel Nii Okuley Tettey is the new General Secretary of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. You're welcome to Eyewitness News. Apostle, tell us where this idea is coming from.
Thank you very much, Maru, and good evening to your listeners. Yes, last week we met, that is Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. We have our annual conference of heads of churches and organizations. That is all the member churches that come together to form the ecumenical body, Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, which is actually the largest Christian body in Ghana, ecumenical group in Ghana. Last week, we had a conference of heads of churches and organizations at the Pentecost Convention Center. And part of our deliberation focused on the country Ghana, our economy, the environment, governance, and so on. I mean, all of that is of concern to the ministries. So we were in discussion and different persons had presentations. At the end of the conference, we gathered our thoughts and put it together as a communique, which we presented to the Minister for Information last Monday, just this past Monday, that with the information that it will get to the Jubilee House and work will be done on it. So that is how come we have this release, which is the communique of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council.
How troubling do you think the size of the government is? And when you say downsize, how down is the size that you're looking for?
Yeah, we cannot put figures to it. We cannot put figures to it. The call for us at this point in time is that urgent, also because of the circumstances we find ourselves in. I mean, we are all aware this call has been on as far as I can remember that the government, the Akufo-Addo administration came to office. And when the ministers and the ministries were being announced, people had concerns. But he had been voted into office. There is an agenda, there is a vision. And so he spoke to Ghanaians and said, well, there is something they want to achieve. And this size is what will bring us the results. We've been on for 6 into the 7th year now. And where we are now, we realize economic situation is a bit dire. It's a bit difficult. Last Monday or so, I think I heard the finance minister mention that if by March we don't get the IMF program on, economy is literally crashing, which other economists are disputing. But he is in the seat of our finances. And so I want to put more premium on what he is saying for now. And so we think in order to get domestic bondholders also to support the government call, we think government should also show some goodwill. Government has been making a lot of efforts, but in terms of its size, in terms of expenditure, we think government should show some more goodwill in visibly reducing government machinery, visibly. Not in rhetoric, but let us see it. Let's see the numbers come down. Let us reduce the projects, so that we make some savings there. And that can also be used to offset some of our debts, so that when we are calling on the citizenry to also make sacrifices, it will be more appreciated. I think we are struggling with the Ghana Individual Bondholders Forum, because they don't see the commitment, they don't see the visible commitment of government when it comes to efforts to also tighten our belts as a country, and yet we want them to make the sacrifices. So we're asking for government to visibly downsize. GPCC cannot say reduce to 50 or reduce to 35 or 83, but something visible and which will be appreciated by the people of Ghana, we think.
Do you think you will be listened to, because the call and demand for the government to be downsized has been made in several quarters. We've not seen anything done about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to respond to this particular question a couple of times already, and we think in a lot of areas, government, whether intentionally or because of the circumstances, we've seen governments ultimately listen to some calls that have been made. And so the idea will not be to, despair or throw our hands in the air and say, well, this call has been made several times, so let's sit back and watch. Like I said earlier, it's visibly very, very difficult where we are now. And so we are only adding our voice to the many preceding voices, asking government to downsize and to cut down expenditure. Sometimes you never know. The last straw, they say, always breaks the back of the camel. Maybe our voice is what will make government respond to the call, given that these are ministers who have prayed for the country and who have prayed for the government. Hopefully, God will touch the heart of government to listen to the voice of the ministers.